Hi, I'm Chad. Thanks for coming to Arctic Horde Wargaming. Today we have a match between myself and Jordan. I'm going to be running my Tomb Kings, and Jordan brought the new Bonereapers. We're going to be playing Duality of Death. It's page 60 in the General's Handbook. And Jordan's going to be running the Bonereapers in the big Renegade Open tournament that's this weekend as well. And a whole bunch of folks that come in and record with us regularly will be there. So if you want to see some of those armies and some of those folks, definitely check that out. There's a link down below for that. There's also a link down below to help support the channel. Anything you can do there would be greatly appreciated. We have a Patreon account listed down there. And also you can help support the channel by being part of the Horde. Hitting that subscribe button and then also hit the bell so you're notified of our upcoming content. We have new stuff uploading to the channel all the time. I did want to mention for the Tomb Kings, the rules that they use are the War Scrolls that are actually on the Games Workshop website. And then you use the Legions and the Gash book, the General Alliance Death. According to Joe Cryer. So thanks for letting me know about that, Joe. I appreciate it. But that is what you use. And last but not least, stick around for the end of the video and the endgame wrap-up. Jordan goes into detail talking about the Bonereapers and the strengths and weaknesses and armies that can match up against them and things like that. Stick around for the show, folks. Alright, we're going to roll to see who drops first. Ty. Go again. I got a 1.
I got a 2.
So, up to you, sir.
Alright, how many drops does your army have?
Alright, so after much debate, Jordan decided to let me drop first. So we'll show you after setup. Hey, I'm Chad. Today I'm going to be playing the Tomb Kings. Yeah. So, let's look at the table real quick. Over here I got a Necrosphinx. I got 2 units of 10 Legionnaires. I'm using the mummies as Legionnaires. And they do have a standard champ musician in there, even though it doesn't show it. And they'll be centered around these guys with their arms reaching out. So he's the champion. But 2 units of 10, I have 3 total for battle line. Then I have a catapult, shoots 36 inches, and I will remember the rule correctly this time. And then over here, I have my other unit of Legionnaires. The dude in the center here is the champ. Unfortunately, he is not reaching forward, but I'll turn him. He is the champ. And then I have a unit of skeleton archers. I have a Tomb Herald, Queen Khalida. She's now called the Tomb Queen, but it's Khalida. And then I have another Necrosphinx. And then off in the side here, that will be coming on later, these guys can deep strike. I have 2 units of 4 Tomb Swarms. And then I have Prince Apophis. So, Scarab Prince is his new name, I guess. And that is 2,000 points exactly.
Hello, I'm Jordan, and today I will be playing against Chad's Tomb Kings with the Ossiarch Bonereapers. So it should be an interesting grudge match. And this army has... these guys are the infantry of the army. There's 1 block of 40 Mortec Guard, all armed with swords. They are going to be reinforced with a Harvester and a Bone Shaper, as well as the general of the army, who is going to be on the Liege Cavaliers, that's it. And he will be the general, and we are playing as a what's it called? Petrifex Elite Allegiance, or subfaction. So he has to take an item and an artifact that effectively give him 2 extra wounds, and he ignores the first wound taken every battle. Or I mean of every phase. And this wizard is going to know... actually, we'll go over what spells the wizards know in a second. Let's go over here and talk about these units. So this is our terrain piece. It does 1 of 4 things. We're going to go over what the Bone Tide Nexus does, which is the terrain piece for the Ossiarch Bonereapers. It does 1 of 4 things. You get to pick one, and I can't roll at all for it, but in theory, on a 4-up, you can go for the punishment of agony or lethargy. Well, I mean, you have to declare which punishment beforehand. So let's say you want to do a punishment of agony. You roll, and on a 4-up, you subtract 1 for hit rolls made by a unit, and you pick an enemy unit wholly within 18 inches of the objective. The wholly within requirement is also there for the punishment of lethargy, which you also roll a 4-up. And if you roll that 4-up, you pick an enemy unit fully within 18, and you roll, and only a d6 is used for charge rolls instead of 2d6. And you also and make it so that unit can't run. So it makes it a lot slower, a lot harder for units to get into combat. So that was pretty good. Both of those, of course, require your opponent to be pretty close, but it is a huge terrain feature. The other two are within 36 inches, not wholly within. So Punishment of Death is on a 2-up. You roll, and if you get a 2-up, you just do a mortal wound to something. Which is really great if you're trying to finish something off, but it's probably less good than most of the other abilities. Punishment of Ignorance is also within 36 inches and on a 2-up. You pick an enemy wizard, and you subtract 1 from casting, dispelling, and unbinding rolls until your next hero phase. I suppose all of these debuffs are until your next hero phase. We have our other group of troops, and we have them separated like this because of the scenario we're playing, Duality of Death, in the new GHB. Here we have 2 units of 5 Calvalos Death Riders, who are the rest of our battle line. And we have 1 unit of Immortus Guard and 1 unit of Stalkers. And in between them are 2 more wizards. We have another Bone Shaper. And then we have a Soul Mason.
That's how many points?
That is 2,000 on the nose, I believe. As far as the spells that our wizards know, our Soul Mason over here is going to know Arcane Command, which can get me extra Relentless Discipline points, which I'll go over in a second. This guy here is going to know Mortal Contract, or sorry, not Mortal Contract, Drain Vitality, which is a debuff spell within 18 inches. And the wizard over on this side is going to know Empower Nadirite Weapons, which mean these guys, who generally have exploding attacks on 6s, will have attacks that explode on 5s when the spell goes off. We are also playing in the Realm of Fire, so we'll have access to those realm spells as well. As far as Relentless Discipline points, which I mentioned earlier, those are determined at the beginning of each battle round, and they're a lot like how command points work for other armies. They can be used for different command abilities. However, you have access to a ton of command abilities with this army. Pretty much most of your units have their own command abilities they can use, and the sub-faction I'm playing also has its own command ability it can use, as can the... And then there's a default command ability that anyone can use, as long as you fulfill certain criteria. So you do get a ton of command points. I will be starting with, I believe, at least 6, and then I will roll to see if I get more. You get a command point, Relentless Discipline point for every hero you have. So I have 4. Then for every liege you have, gets you an extra 1, so that gets me 1 more, and then you also get 1 more at the beginning of every battle round. You also get extra Relentless Discipline points if you're using battalions, but I am not running any battalions. There's also a couple other instances where you can get extras. I'm going to roll for my Relentless Discipline points for the first battle round, so we'll see how many I get. So I have 10 units in my army, so I roll 10 dice, and on every 6, I'll get 1 extra Relentless Discipline point. Is that none? That is none. Ooh, bummer.
Cat's happy.
That's not a great start, but we still have 6 Relentless Discipline points.
I should say, you made Queen Kalita happy.
All right. And I had the fewest number of drops, so I will get to pick. I'm going to take the first turn. All right, so on this flank, we moved up. We didn't quite get the infantry in range, but we did get the hero in range of the objective. So hopefully he'll be okay. So the heroes captured it. And we did get empowered Naderite weapons off on these guys. So their weapons are going to be exploding on 5s. Over here...
Well, we should mention the objective, you have to be within 3 inches of it in this scenario. Yep. And the objective is that token right there.
Yeah, so...
The king token. So then on the other side...
Over here, the spells we got off were Mystic Shield on this cavalry unit and Inferno Blades, which we put on the Immortus Guard. We moved up with everything here. The cavalry have captured this point, barely. But we have it. And that is it. Oh, also, I used 3 of my Relentless Discipline points. I have 3 left. I basically get to use them for this battle round, and then I roll again to see how many more I get. So they reset every battle round.
Nice. Alright, so we will go on to Tomb Kings, turn 1.
And I tried to do the punishment of lethargy this last turn, and it failed.
So Tomb Kings, turn 1. I shot with the catapult, missed. I basically just shuffled those guys up there. The Necrosphinx made it up into here, into his hero, and completely whiffed all the way down his stat line. I got nothing out of it whatsoever. And then back here, the Tomb Swarm came up, and they actually failed the charge, and because I had spent my command point on Blessing Accuracy on Kalita, I didn't end up getting a command point to be able to
try to
charge him again.
Anyways from a hero.
But, oh yeah, that too. But even if I did, it wouldn't have mattered because I had already spent my command point. And then over on this side of the table, I had brought up a unit of Tomb Swarm actually right behind here. They charged in, didn't get any wounds into those guys whatsoever, and then got evaporated. And then over here, I just charged up, or actually ran up that unit of Legionnaires to be within the objective there. And then I ran up the Necrosphinx into that unit of Cav, and again did 0 damage to them and took 2 for my trouble.
Do you want to explain how the objectives work for this?
Yeah, so the objectives work basically, he got there first, and so I have to kill that unit to take that objective. So he's still within 3, so even though I have more stuff there, he's still controlling that objective. I gotta get him off of it.
Yeah, it has different objective rules than most other scenarios.
Yeah. So that's it. So I get no objective points out of this, and I basically did 0 damage on it, which is really painful for turn 1, especially with my 2 big guys going into combat. I whiffed all the way down the line on both of them. And then same thing with my skeleton archers. I shot into his hero back here and completely missed, even with the +1 for Kalita, because he wipes that out and gets it back to... he has a -1 deal, so basically that negates that. The Tomb Standard did plant his standard there, so he would have been able to bring guys back, but that doesn't matter just yet. So that is end of Tomb King's turn 1.
So I'm going to roll to find out how many Relentless Discipline points I get. So I get the 6 that I get default, and then I roll. I got 0 extra last time, so we'll see about this time now. Oh, come on! Oh, man. 0 out of 2 rolls of 10 dice. Okay, well, we still get our 6. That still should be enough.
I think something's going in my favor this game. And then we're going to roll for turn.
Yep.
Got a 3. And a 6 for Jordan.
I'm going to take it.
Of course you are. Alright, we're going to go to Bonereapers, turn 2.
We got the other 5 cavalry in and charged and did some damage to him. We did 1 mortal on the charge with our command ability. And then we all fought over here. I lost 1 cavalry guy, and he took a little bit of damage too. Over here, the stalkers took 1 damage, but these 2 combined units just eviscerated the 10 skeletons that were there. And yeah. Over here, the Liege Cavalos fought first, dealing some damage, and he took some in return from the Necrosphinx, but still feeling pretty healthy at 6 wounds. And then the Mortek Guard went in, and they hurt. Especially, I mean, I command pointed them to do various things.
They got like 25 wounds. Yeah, it was enough to get.
Yeah, they did 23 wounds at neg 2 damage, and then Sphinx only had, or the Necrosphinx, right?
Yep.
Necrosphinx only had 2 wounds left, so he was pretty dead.
Deader,
yeah.
All right, so this is what it looks like after turn 2 for the Bonereapers.
All right, and then we'll be moving on to the bottom of turn 2 with the
Tomb Kings. So Tomb Kings, turn 2, I killed a lot of stuff. Too bad it was all my own guys. So yeah. Down here, the Necrosphinx got a few damage off, but didn't really matter. He ended up going away. I charged everything down here, and the Legionnaires ended up going away. Luckily, he put all of his stuff into the Legionnaires, so that was a thing. These guys didn't end up doing anything down here. Then over here, I charged. I got 1 wound into that guy. That was about it. And then I failed my charge back there with the Scarabs
right, I forgot
again.
about that.
So basically over here, I also failed to hit anything with the catapult. And so it was not a good turn 2 for Tomb Kings. But, I don't know, a little brotherly love on the table here.
And then I'll roll for my Relentless Discipline points, and then we'll go into the roll-off for next turn.
Sounds good.
Alright, I still have 10 units on the field, so I still get to roll 10 dice. And add it to 6. How? 3 times in a row I've gotten no 6s on this roll. Wow. But you know what? We've rolled really well for other things.
I was going to say, the one thing that's going my way this game.
I can't complain too much. I still get 6 Relentless Discipline points base, so I'll just have to work with that again.
Alright, so then we'll roll for turn.
Yep.
Ooh, that's a 6.
Alright.
Could be a thing.
Yeah, you could double here. Yeah, you do.
Alright, so I do get the double turn.
And you are taking it, I'm guessing.
I am taking it. So, turn 3, Tomb Kings. So, Tomb Kings, turn 3. It got a lot better from there.
Yeah, that double turn really helped, huh?
It did. Turned right around for Jordan. It was, for Jordan.
No.
So, basically, if you look over here, I got nothing left except for the 2 heroes.
Yeah.
Not enough to get back at that objective, obviously. And then over on this side of the table, if you look over here, everything is gone except for the Tomb Swarm. And back here, I got the catapults. So Jordan is up. He's had the objectives every turn.
These are not battle line, correct?
Correct.
So you have nothing over here that could take that, even if you could kill the hero.
Even if I could. Yep. So with that, we're gonna call it.
All right. Yeah. Good game, Chad.
Good game, sir. So post game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that went really well for you.
The Ossiarchs did well. Basically, I had first turn because I was slightly fewer drops than you.
Yep.
And I leveraged that by, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna count on my defense working. I put things that I was like, well, maybe he'll be able to kill this, but I'm gonna risk it. And I put my general and then a unit of cav on the objectives, and I parked them there, and you couldn't get them off.
Yep.
Because their defense is pretty impressive.
Well, and my whole plan went sideways over here.
Right.
I didn't get my charge off that I wanted to. My Necrosphinx, when I ran into your dude, didn't do what I wanted it to.
Also, your first Necrosphinx swing was just...
Yeah, and I literally got 0 all the way down the profile on both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So that was not a good first turn for me at all, and it kind of set the tone. And my dice rolls were terrible too. Let's be honest. It wasn't just tactics wise; it was the dice rolls were against me.
And then it's also, I mean, let's be real, it's Tomb Kings.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fun army, but they're probably not going to be as competitive as like the brand new Ossiarchs.
I just thought it'd be a fun matchup.
And it is,
you know,
because you hear about like everyone's like, oh, the Ossiarchs are replacements for Tomb Kings or something.
Yeah.
But you can totally play them against each other.
The Tomb Kings weren't having it. They're like, let's see what we can do about that.
Yeah.
Come into our homeland and But so it just my dice rolls seriously were terrible. I actually switched dice halfway through the game. That's how bad they were. So I was punishing that first set of dice because it was bad news. But even getting the double turn didn't help me. And by that time I was too far gone.
Yeah, but by that point in the game, we were already in combat with all the important things anyways. Yeah. So all the double turn means is like you get to attack with one of your things before I get to.
Right. Well, two, because Kalita gets to
right, sure. Yeah. But I wasn't really too concerned about the 5 wound hero.
Well, the one Venom Staff, it actually can do damage if she gets it through.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it does D6.
Oh, okay.
So it's a thing.
Huh.
But, yeah, so that, I mean, it could potentially be something. But so in general, besides this particular game, this was more just for a fun, like thematic type game.
Yeah.
If you can kind of give the rundown of what you think about the Ossiarch now that you've got them playing with them.
So of course they're a brand new army, so there's a lot to go over. But as far as like the stuff that I brought today, the infantry are probably the best thing in the army. And you didn't really see that too much in this game because they were lagging behind. They moved a bit slowly at the beginning. But they are really hard to kill, especially if you have a harvester nearby, because they have... I'm going to use the Petrifex saves because pretty much everyone's going to be using Petrifex for the time being, for the most part. Of course, you can make a strong list without them, but in Petrifex, your basic infantry are going to have 3-up saves, and also usually you'll have the 6-up deathless as well. And then if you've got a harvester nearby, you can bring guys back, or heal the harvester if you wanted instead. By you rolling on a 4-up, you can heal or bring a model back, which is a lot better with infantry because of how the rule for the harvester works. The harvester itself is a bit squishier, but he's still going to be on a 3-up in the sub-faction. And he's got 10 wounds, which is okay. He's a 200-point monster. His combat profile is pretty decent. He does like an average of something like... Actually, I don't remember how much damage he does on average. But he does pretty decent damage. However, his real thing, the thing that makes him really good is, of course, the healing ability he has.
And that's actually why I tried to get at him with the Tombsworn back here to get him out of there.
But
if things would have went okay over there and the Tombsworn would have got in there, but I failed that charge twice.
And even if you made it, the Tombsworn just don't have the damage.
Yeah.
And I mean, in a attrition battle, he would probably win because his output's actually kind of decent. I mean, he killed one of the Tombsworn when he swung at them.
Well, and in the game overall, if I would have, like I said, if I would have got the charge off on him the first turn and got the wounds into him, even if he would have done some damage to him, I can go back underground and come back up.
He also does degrade pretty harshly.
So I had a plan. It didn't work, but yeah. So anyway, you were saying.
Yeah. So other units, the Mortech Guard, the Immortus Guard, and the Stalkers were over here on my right flank. They did pretty decent work. I mean, the Immortus Guard I had out front because they have the better save. They have a 2-up, which is in Petrifex, which is pretty good. Their damage output, they struggled a bit when they were fighting the heroes. They can spike kind of hard, though. If you put a couple buffs on them, their damage output is actually pretty decent, despite the fact that people are sort of saying they're not very good. I disagree. I think that they're pretty decent, though the Stalkers, I think, are probably better value, just because their output is going to be quite a bit better, even if their defense is a bit worse. The Stalkers' output is pretty good. It's probably the most efficient output-wise in the army, outside of, like, infantry spam. And the other units I have over here, the Cavalry, the Death Riders, they're pretty strong. They are hard to kill, like everything else in the army. 3-up save, 3 wounds a pop. And so you got 15 wounds effectively on a 3-up save for 180 points, and they're fast.
And you throw a hero by them, so then you get Deathless too. Yeah.
Well, no, they can get Deathless just by having by having the Hecatos. The leader, if the unit leader is alive and all the other models are within 6 inches of him, he'll have Deathless. The unit will have Deathless. regardless, their damage output isn't great. It isn't super efficient, but it's decent, and they can really grind in combat. Between the swords and the spears for the cavalry, I'd highly recommend the swords, because they just do more damage in almost every situation. Maybe if you're putting the spell that gives you exploding fours with the spears, that would do more damage, but it's sort of close even in that scenario. And the swords, you don't have to worry about charging all the time. You can just throw them into combat and let them grind. They grind pretty well. Not quite as well as the infantry, of course, but they are fast. I mean, they got to the objective right away. One thing that you do need to keep in mind with the army is you have a command ability that can just let you move stuff 3 extra inches, which means that your cavalry effectively can move 15, even your infantry can move 7. So they're slow base, but if you put command points in, as opposed to using your command points on other abilities...
Well, and you get all of those extra command points.
You get a lot.
Except for not this game.
Oh, yeah. No, honestly, I still had enough command points, even without getting the extras.
But that was awesome that you whiffed it on all 3 times.
Right, that was pretty impressive.
So that was funny.
But yeah, I didn't need them. Also, I did use the spell once on the second turn, the Arcane Command, which gives me D3 more. And they're called Relentless Discipline points, not command points. So anything that affects command points, like that Night Haunt hero that can steal command points, he can't steal them from these guys because they're not command points.
Oh, nice.
Things like that. The downside, of course, is you cannot use the default command abilities, and I believe that would also include the command abilities from realms. You can only use your personal command abilities that this army has.
Because they're not command points.
Yeah, because they don't use command points. And the only reason you're able to use your Relentless Discipline points for command abilities in this army is because the book specifies that these abilities can be used with Relentless Discipline points. You can actually use them with with actual command points if you run this army in general death, but honestly, you probably won't.
Yeah,
so.
I don't know why you won't. Because they're solid with what they got. So out of the sub factions in the book, what do you think are the better ways?
Well, the one I ran, Petrifex, is pretty much probably what I see almost everyone running. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that we see more of other sub factions because there's some really cool sub factions in the book. But having +1 to save is it's really good. I mean, makes your army extremely defensive, and you're already kind of pretty defensive to begin with. But you're elite, so you need your stuff to not die. And if you are trying to go for 4-ups instead of 3-ups, it does make a difference. The other allegiances, though, if you don't want to run Petrifex and you want to run something more thematic, I'm a big fan of the Crematoriums if you're running infantry heavy, because it makes your infantry, or well, any of your troops, when they die, they explode, dealing mortal wounds back. Which is pretty sweet if you're running a bunch of infantry, and then you have a couple of the harvesters behind them. So your infantry will explode, dealing damage, and then the harvester might be able to put them back on anyways.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
You cannot, they FAQ'd it, so you can't stack the harvester's buffs on one unit, which is, thank goodness for that. Because it would make units practically immortal if you had 3 harvesters next to them.
Oh yeah, just put them right behind it and be like, yeah, they're all coming back.
Yeah, because you roll 3 dice per units. Yeah, the harvester can only the unit can only be affected by 1 harvester at a time. So that's fine. Besides that, though, the Null Myriad is probably pretty decent. I haven't ran it, but I actually haven't had a chance to run anything but Petrifex. I just got the army. But Null Myriad, you ignore spells on your guys on a 5-up, and there are ways to buff that to a 2-up using a command ability on your heroes, which is pretty good considering the army's primary weakness is mortal wound output, and the primary way you take mortal wounds tends to be from spells for most armies. However, I just find the +1 to save to be a bit better, and also the command ability you get in Petrifex gives you an extra rend, which is pretty great. And besides Null Myriad, though, the Ossiarch Lords is probably decent as well. Running and charging it's a good ability to have. And your whole army will get to do it, which means you can just... If you want to do an Alpha Strike army, that's probably what you run, but honestly, I don't think this army is very suited to Alpha Strikes. It's much better as, like, you can get on objectives and then counterpunch them.
So what would you think? What would you think would be a good matchup for this army? Like a counter to this army?
A counter to this army, we were talking earlier. Flesh Eater Courts would probably be solid against them, as they have high mobility, mortal wound output, that sort of thing. They're going to be pretty weak against mass mortal wound output. Unless you're running Null Myriad, things like Tzeentch will probably be quite effective against them. And the new human faction, the Cities of Sigmar, or I guess not just humans, but the Cities of Sigmar faction has some decent play against them as well with the Hollow Heart faction, which I noticed when I played against them. But if you're
shout out to Evan for wrecking Jordan's army.
Yep, shout out to Evan. However, if you lack mortal wound output capabilities in your army, then you're probably going to have some struggles here fighting against them. What you want to do is try to leverage your mobility, especially in matchups where there's a lot of objectives on the field. If you're playing like a control army like Sylvaneth, or even better, probably Seraphon, you can use your teleports, go where the army is weakest, and try to take objectives, and don't fight them head-on if you can help it. Because this army does pretty well in head-on grindy engagements. But if you can burst them with mortal wounds, or if you just have so much red that you can actually get through their saves, then maybe. Stuff
Which is tough, because even the stuff I had, like -2, even -3 red.
Right.
I mean, you still were able to save against that.
Yeah. So. Things like Plague Monks that will have just a ton of attacks. I don't know for sure how efficient it will be, but my guess is you'll get enough damage through to hurt these guys as well. But if you're not running something that has just a ton of heavy damage, then fighting them in a head-on engagement is probably the wrong move. You can either fight them if you have the damage, or try to dance around them if you have the mobility. And if you don't have either, then you are probably in trouble. But I guess that's true of a lot of armies.
Yeah, very cool. Well, I hope you liked that one, folks. It was a unique matchup. We thought we'd do something fun. Mm-hmm. If you like more videos like this, like, share, subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified of our upcoming content. Go ahead and comment down below. Take a look at all the links down below, including the link to the Renegade Open. It's a big tournament. It's next weekend.
This weekend.
Next weekend.
Yeah, this weekend.
Yeah, next weekend.
Oh, okay.
Who's on first? So it's next weekend, and so definitely take a look at the link for that. And you'll probably see Jordan there running through some armies. So.
Well, we'll see about that. I mean, I don't know. There's tons of good players that are going to be there.
Oh yeah,
and
for sure.
It'll be really interesting to see what everyone brings.
Yeah, the cool thing in Minnesota, the meta here, there's a lot of good players here. So
yeah.
And there's supposed to be 36 last I heard.
Yeah, and I heard good people are coming from Wisconsin as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah, a lot of people coming in for the tournament. So definitely check it out, and we'll see you in the next show. Thanks, folks.